Yo, 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 yo. C. Burleson, Isaac Hampton. What's good with you? What up, baby? Big Game James here in the building. How's everybody doing? I know the awards is going on right now, but I don't give a hell about them awards. But shout out to Dan Quinn for getting Assistant Coach of the Year. So a big shout out to Dan Quinn because he made a hell of a difference on that defense this year, and I'm super excited of what he did, what he created. I had my doubts about him. What's up, Zaire? What's good with you? I had my doubts about Dan Quinn as far as when he came into the seat, because he had the Atlanta stigma behind him. Atlanta felt like chokers, but they weren't chokers. They won the World Series and things of that nature, so they're better. What up, Timothy? Defense wins championships. We know it, baby. So shout out to Quinn because he really transformed that defense. Jamal Porter was good with you. He transformed the defense. It was a different animal of this past season. Turnovers, interceptions with Trevin Diggs with 11 picks and just everybody. The sacks, Michael Parsons getting 13. He was the, what's up, Lamont? We got Michael Parsons got a rookie defensive player of the year. So you saw he was instrumental in making him great. And so it's a good thing. And I guess I think they're still waiting to see what's good. We're going to talk about that because we're going to talk about defensive ends today. What's up, King Trail? We're going to talk about that tonight right quick because the focus today is, well, the title is, it's BGJ, talking free agency and defensive ends. So I got some few guys that I got kind of in my head. I want to get those, good awards out to all the Cowboys people out there. And I don't know if Dak won comeback player of the year. I didn't get to see it yet, but he was on the Rich Eisen show. Go check out that show. I was going to post it, but I didn't get it up in time. But it had some good talks about, the season, things of that nature, but I don't want to get on to that. We've already talked about that enough. What's up, DeLunatic? Let's talk about some, we've already talked about Cowboys, and I'm going to talk about that eventually soon. But today we're going to focus on defensive ends today. And I'm focusing on defensive ends because I feel like it's an important position on the defense, especially when you don't have a lot of defensive ends on the team. Right now, Randy Gregory is a free agent. There has been talk in the air about Demarcus Lawrence either with a restructure or out flat cut. Dorance Armstrong Jr. is a free agent. The Terrell Basham has another year on his deal. And then we have Chauncey Golston. And we'll talk about this stuff right quick. First, I'm going to start off with D-Law. Obviously, we've been hearing in the air about Amari Cooper and D-Law because their salaries. They're two of the higher salaries in the league. They're two of the higher paid players at their position in the league. So obviously restructure comes if you go look on my community page, my guy Frankie broke the restructure down. Make sure you go check out that on the community page if you want to look about how a restructure is done and how it's already kind of in the contract of the player. The player doesn't lose any money, just gets kind of pushed back, and it allows the team to be able to maneuver and sign people. So what's up, Randy? So that's basically you threw me off the lunatic with that. But that's what basically the restructures happen. A lot of contracts with a lot of players with a lot of teams. This is a normal thing that's going on. Oh, Joe Burrow won comeback player of the year. I mean, that's tough. I mean, I think the reason why he got that was because he's in the Super Bowl. It's hard to argue comeback player of the year when you got you lost half the season with a torn ACL and then you come back and go to the Super Bowl next year. Dak played tremendous, had a tremendous year, breaking Tony Romo's record. He's the franchise record in a season with touchdowns. But that's to go to the Super Bowl. It's hard to trump that one. I think if Dak would have had a season where it was flipped and Cowboys went to the Super Bowl, or where in the championship game, I think, and Dak was playing well, I think Dak would have got that comeback play of the year. But I think that Super Bowl kind of did it for Burrow and the run that kind of went on. So we'll see. No, I don't want to get rid of Cooper. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get rid of Cooper. I don't want to get rid of Cooper for Drake London. Drake London, I looked at him. He's a good player, but I don't. In my opinion, CeeDee Lamb is going to be good. He's a good receiver, but I don't know if he's taking that next step where he's like the guy like Amari is. I just don't agree with that. But let's talk about these defensive ends, though. First, let's talk about Demarcus Lawrence. All right, so they're talking about, hey, you could possibly cut D-Law because his contract in 2022, he's gonna be making 19 milli, with the signing bonus. And in my opinion, everybody should know how I feel about Demarcus Lawrence. He's 29 years old, about to be 30, I believe, about the start of the season. Like I said about D-Law, he's not a great player to me. He's a very good player. He's a dual player. He's a guy that is great in the run game. He's going to give you good effort. He's a guy that can put pressure on the ball. Like I said, he's huge in the run game, and that's what's big. He plays on the left side, so you got to really contain. He can play that. Hey, he can set the edge. He can get after the quarterback. Doesn't get the sacks. I feel like when you're getting paid like that, in my opinion, I feel like you should be all that and still be able to get the sacks. So I think that's the one thing. I feel like, when you really need it, I don't know if he does it for you all the time, but for what the Cowboys need in this defense, I feel like it's premium that you keep him. I don't feel like it would be premium on other teams, just me, because as I said before, I like to see him get a little bit more sacks. But like I said, he is a dog. I can't take that away from D-Law. He is a dog. But I feel like, he's more of a not a top centerpiece. He's more of a piece that you fit in, a good piece that you fit in, and then you have like a Michael Parsons, and then you have the D-Law. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel like D-Law is the guy, and then everybody else is below him. I feel like he's a very good player, but if you get some great players, then it makes him even better. As you saw with Michael Parsons, how it made D-Law, I felt like even brought his game out even more. I don't feel like he's like a lead dog type dude to me, because I feel like if you are that dude, you get sacks as well. I know, like I said, sacks aren't everything. You have to get pressures and tackles, and that's what he does. So like I said, for the Cowboys, I think it would be a mistake, in my opinion, to cut D-Law. Because looking at what you have right now, and Dallas is not going to go out there and spend for a high price free agent in free agency. That's not going to happen from Baby Nuts Jones. It's not going to happen. You're not going to go out there and do that. So you don't want to cut that. He has an out. If you look at the contract that we D-Law has, 2024, he's on an unrestricted free agent. 2024, like basically 2 more years. So in 2 more years, I feel like that's when he'll be gone. And that's when you can move on, because it doesn't hit your cap. There's not a lot of dead money that's going to be on the cap. Or you can really do it next year if you wanted. The cap hit, dead cap money is not going to be crazy even next year. But I feel like if you can restructure that with D-Law and get 2 more years out of him, then I say you do it, because you need that player in your type of defense that you're running, especially when you got Michael Parsons in there, and you got Chauncey Golston, who is, some people have said he's like a young Demarcus Lawrence, because he can play in the run game. You can slide him inside, which I think he's really good on the inside. I didn't have a lot of pass rush moves. When I did my scouting report on him, I said he was a better player inside, and he was a high motor guy, and that's what he showed this year. I said he didn't have a lot of advanced pass rush moves. He just had kind of the bull rush, and that's why he was better sliding inside. And if you look how the Cowboys used him, They used him multiple times as a 3-tech. He was playing 5, but he was playing a lot of 3-tech as well, sliding on the inside because he was good on the inside. And so I feel like that was true about his scouting report. But I feel like he can continue to grow and get better because he's super active. He has good size. I think he's like an athlete like D Law, not a supreme athlete, but a good enough athlete. But like I said, a lot of people in the streets or people in the streets says he has that D Law mode. So you get 2 more years out of D Law, then in a couple of years, it doesn't hurt the cap or whatever you want to do, or even next year. That's another year of development, and then you can basically slide in a ghost in if he continues to trend up that you hope for. I think when Demarcus Lawrence, before he got his second deal, when they drafted Taco Charlton, I think they had the idea of, if we don't re-sign D-Law, we're going to slide Taco right into his spot. So I feel like if you can continue to let Golston kind of grow in that role and let him continue to get better as far as his moves, as far as his skill set, then it'll be kind of an easy transition from that year to 2, and you already have a guy that you can slide right in that left side. And then you can draft, which we'll talk about some draft players that I like, and hopefully maybe the Cowboys will look at a few of these guys. So, yeah, Anai, I'm, when he got cut, and I think it was because, he had the offsides, but I don't know, man. Anai had really good pass rush moves. Even when he was coming out of college, that was his thing. Ultimate energy pass rush guy. But when you really watched him, he wasn't as, his athletic thing hurt him. We went to the combine a few years ago when he was coming out and he ran like a 4.8. And that's kind of what D-Law had, I think 4.7. But I just didn't see when you watched him in the year, I know he had a pretty decent game against San Diego, but just looked like he kind of struggled to really get off those blocks from the offensive linemen. So I think they were kind of smart in what they did. And I think a lot of us liked what we saw in college. And, he was the name because you didn't have anybody else behind him. But I don't know if he really is that guy that was going to slide in and take a D-Law spot if D-Law went down. He wasn't going to be a guy, in my opinion, that was going to really be a setter of that left side. I just feel like that was a smart move for them, and I feel like Golston is a better trending player that they can use on that left side besides Anai, and I think that was the best decision that they went with on that tip. So definitely, if we're talking about Demarcus Lawrence, that's who I would definitely say Cowboys should keep. They should restructure. What's up, Unc? What's up, Tyrone? Just call on Tyrone. Yeah, you definitely we're going to build the O-line, but we're talking about D-line today. We'll talk about O-line on another subject. We're talking about D-line today. So if we're talking first Demarcus Lawrence, because he's your top dog as far as defensive ends, keep him. Keep him for these next couple of years. Let that trend up for Golston, draft, and then slide somebody in there when that contract is up. So definitely keep D-Law for your defense because it's a good pair with Micah Parsons. I think it really works. And you got to go. He's only 30. He's 30 years old. I know he has the injury, but I think him and Micah play good together, and I think that's a good combo. So I don't think you move on from D-Law, in my opinion. You keep him, and if you want to keep this defense and you don't want to go backwards, then that's a move. If you're talking about keeping your own and building through the draft and keeping your own, then this wouldn't make any sense, in my opinion, to cut him if you're trying to do what you're trying to do. Nah, I'm cool with that, Steven Johnson. I don't want to cut D-Law, restructure Cooper. You can restructure Cooper, but I'm not doing Hightower over Law because Hightower, I don't know. I feel like D-Law it doesn't make sense to let him go because he's not trending down right now. He's not declining, like super declining. I think the only problem with him is his injuries. And I don't feel like, especially for what Dallas is trying to do with their defense, I think you need to keep him. So I'm definitely with staying with him. Now, the other player that we want to talk about, obviously, is the big name, and I'm going to ask you guys in the chat today. We're going to go with the next guy, and we all know about him, Randy Gregory. I'm going to pull him up right now. Randy Gregory. I'm going to ask y'all about him. 29 years old, about to be 30. We know he drafted in 2015, second round. It's been very documented about what's been going on with him. He re-signed in 2021 for the year deal for $1 million, million plus. Now he's an unrestricted free agent. He's got some high market value. Came in. Let's go over his stats right quick. Randy Gregory, 2021 games played 13, games started 12. No, games played, games started 11, games played 12. 436 snaps, had 38% of the snaps, 6 sacks, 19 tackles, 1 interception, 3 forced fumbles. Not crazy statistics, but he did miss some games due to injury and I think because of COVID protocol. But right now, they're saying the market value for Randy Gregory would be 3 years, $39 million with $13.2 million per. Are y'all wanting to keep Randy? Should Randy, because 13 mil, I don't know if Stephen Jones is doing that. 13 years, 13, 3 years, 13 mil. The shorter the deal is better. Do you think that's plausible? Is Stephen Jones doing that? Are y'all doing that? And here's the thing, Tariq. I think it's about right as well. You know, when looking at it, somebody told me I was crazy when I said 10 million. He was right. I was crazy because he played higher than that. So I apologize for the guy on Twitter. He got me. See, that's what I'm saying. I think he's scared of free agents, but I think he might do that, the lunatic Stephen Jones. I think because he's talking about always signing his own and because they went through so much, I don't think Randy Gregory takes a hometown discount. I don't think he takes a hometown discount, but I feel like they work it out with him because they're trying to keep that defense together. And because of the history they have with them, I feel like Stephen Jones may jump out there and do that with him. You know what I mean? Especially if you get these restructures going on with Dak, Amari Cooper. Hopefully you keep Coop. That's the one I worry about because I feel like D-Law with the defense. I feel like Dan Quinn likes him. I feel like he's an emotional leader on the defense. And I feel like it's still plausible, especially if you restructure him. I think you can save $9 to $14 million with the restructure on D-Law. You can still get 2 good years out of him, and I feel like he's a good piece of the defense. Amari Cooper is who I'm worried about, and Dak is definitely going to restructure as well. They're waiting for that to happen, but he's going to restructure. They're talking about 16 million can be freed up with that. So if you could free up like 14 with D-Law and 16 with Dak, that's 30, and then whatever you can do with Amari. But I think Randy Gregory comes back. When I looked at the numbers, I think that's workable. And especially with the time Jerry's invested in it, I feel like he doesn't want to move on because one thing I've seen from the way Jerry does is he's invested a lot of time in you. He doesn't just want you to walk. Like he doesn't want put all this time and effort in you, keeping you, believing in you only for you to sign somewhere else and get paid somewhere else. He doesn't want that. So I feel like maybe Jerry might be the deciding factor, maybe in my opinion, where he ain't gonna get $7 million with incentives to get 12. He won't go for that. If his agent shouldn't even go for something like that. I feel like, in my opinion, he should try to get everything because this could probably be his last deal. For real. I know he's a young 30, but it is what it is. We don't know how long the NFL lasts, so this could be his last deal. So he's got to get paid. In my opinion, from his aspect, he's going to try to get paid because I don't think he takes a hometown discount because this could be it. This could be your last bit of money. So if this could be your last deal, and Cowboys are going to try to probably come to these negotiations cutting low. They're not going to go high. Steven and them, they're going to go low. So I want to see how that kind of moves. But I think Randy Gregory comes back. I was, a little, going back and forth. But I think Steven and them may do it because of the time and investment. I feel like they maybe worked it out and both teams both parties kind of prevail in that, especially if you're trying to sign your own, because you ain't going to jump out there and sign no other defensive free agents. I got some other, yeah, there ain't going to be no home discount. Anthony Barnes Price, and I mentioned him, Tyrone. I think I mentioned him on Twitter like about a month ago, but how I would like him as an addition. I think his is like $7 million a year, and that's definitely doable in Steven Jones's range. He's 33, has some injury issues, but I don't know if they play him as a DN more. He's more of the linebacker type, and I don't think they slide him at DN. So I feel like just dealing with the DNs, you know, I feel like they got to resign Randy, and that has to work. You keep Demarcus Lawrence, resign Randy, because I have a list of guys that I just, mentioned through free agency. But, looking at the cap, would they be reasonable? So this is the names I came up with. If by chance you were to lose a Randy Gregory, these are some guys. This is the over 30 club because they're cheap. I don't know. Melvin Ingram, Justin Houston, and Jerry Hughes. Those are three guys that I kept out there just because they would be cheaper and they on a 1 to 2 year deal bargain type thing. So, I know Melvin Ingram's, I think, like 33. Houston is like 33, 34. Obviously, they weren't the players that they were, but they still can give you some tick and some pass rush. Jerry Hughes definitely can still give you some pass rush, even though he's like 33. But those will be guys like if you lost Randy Gregory, that could be an over 30 club that you can get for a couple hedge year deal. And then, you'd have to probably go heavy in that draft if you lose a Gregory. So I feel like Gregory comes back. I feel like they work it out with D-Law with the restructure. It only makes sense. It doesn't make sense for you to really move on from that. You can still draft the defensive end. I got some names right here because I think, defensive end is good in this draft. There's some quality guys that you can probably get later, and those guys that you can still develop in these couple of years when you want to probably move on from them. And if you do a 3-year deal like it's saying, and you still got 2 years left, now you use those 2 or 3 years, draft, because that's how the Cowboys are going to do it. They're not going to sign a lot of big free agents, so this is where they're going to have to live through is this draft. So you're really going to have to keep those two, draft, and you're probably not going to get anybody else in free agency. There's some other free agents that I put in here that were under 30 that I would think the Cowboys could do. I don't know how you feel about any of these names. What about the defensive tackle we lost to injury? I think he's from Chicago. Oh, I don't remember the defensive tackle. Y'all got to remind the thing. But what I was saying was, here, I'm trying to pull this up. So these are some guys that I mentioned that were under 30. Let's say by chance Randy Gregory doesn't get signed and they need somebody that's not over 30. You got an under 30 club that can probably be reasonable. I mentioned Takaris McKinley. You remember what he did to Dallas? He played under Dan Quinn. That's a name that I kept in mind. Charles Harris. Because he was a guy that the Cowboys were looking at in the draft, and he's 27, I believe. Kimoko Turi, he's another guy that I had mentioned. Solomon Thomas and Jihad Ward, and he was with the Cowboys, and he left. I think he had a pretty decent season one year, had like 8 sacks, I believe. If I'm not correct, you can check me on that. I might be wrong on that. But those are just some names that I feel like are within reason as far as money, especially the Takaris, if I said it right, McKinney, because he was a guy that played with Atlanta and was with Quinn, and Quinn has familiarity with them. And we saw he was giving Cowboys a little bit of trouble, and he's under a 30 class. So I think that's a guy that you could target. Stephen Jones and them could target because of the reunion. Jihad Ward could be a reunion guy. Charles Harris, that could be definitely flexible. Solomon Thomas and Turi. Those are 5 names I said, but McKinley is the one that I guess would stand out to me the most because he actually, he had that work with Dallas. He has that history. He had that work in Atlanta. He has that history with Dan Quinn. We saw DeMonte Casey come over and Keanu Neal, and, he could give some tick. So he's a guy that if you don't get Gregory, he's a guy that I would see maybe the Joneses maybe targeting because of history. So that's something to. Oh yeah, and Brent Urban. Yeah, we'll talk about defensive tackles because I don't want to get on that because then that would ruin what we're talking about. We're definitely going to talk about Brent Urban and defensive tackles, but let's hit these ends today. So if we're talking about two players that we're looking at already, you should re-sign Randy Gregory, especially if you do these restructures. It's definitely feasible. It can definitely work. They're talking about cutting Greg's early on, which is sure that's saving like $2 million already right there. Oh no, you good, Tim? You good, Timothy? You don't even trip. We ain't even tripping like that. But so those two guys I'm keeping, and another player that I thought probably would move on because he may want more money. But I think the Cowboys can get him too. And if they're talking about signing their own and keeping their own guys, this is a guy I think they should probably re-sign as well. And I think he'll be able to be re-signed for them. Maybe his market is not going to be that good because he hasn't had that great of a career, and that's Dorance Armstrong Jr. Dorance Armstrong Jr. was drafted in 2018. He hasn't cost the Cowboys a lot of money at all. He's only 25 years old. This past season, let's go on his 2021 stats. He played 44% of the snaps. He had 5 sacks this year. 13 games played, 13 games started. 13 games played, 5 games started, 506 snaps, career high in snaps, career high in games started, career high in sacks. He had 5 this year, career high in tackles, career high in solo tackles and assists. So he had a career year, if we're talking about it across the board, in Dorance Armstrong Jr. And so the Cowboys have that infinity, especially Jerry, because he's the one that was holding on to Armstrong last year and giving him compliments. So him getting 5 sacks is what's good, Jay Lombardi. So him getting 5 sacks, I think Dorance Armstrong Jr. and plus the way he's not going to cost a lot of. I don't think he's going to cost you a lot of money, and I think you can definitely get him in a reasonable contract. I don't know if his market is going to be huge at all. Some people might see some potential, but I think he's a guy that the Cowboys are going to go ahead and get back. So I didn't think Dorance Armstrong, when they asked me, would you keep Dorance Armstrong Jr.? I was like, I'll move on. But for what the Cowboys are doing, and they don't go out there and jump out in free agency, and if we're looking at their thought pattern and how they like to do things, this would make sense for them to go ahead and re-sign Dorance Armstrong Jr. And them say, hey, we did okay. We re-signed Randy Gregory. We re-signed Dorance Armstrong Jr. So we're doing good in free agency. That's going to be their free agency. That's the Dallas Cowboys way now. That is their free agency, signing their own. So this is the free agency you can only get excited about. So that's why I feel like they'll make a play for these guys and won't jump to the outside because of what Stephen Jones said. So it would only make sense to me for you to go after Randy Gregory. And especially if you're doing a 13 mil, I think that can work for them, especially if you do the restructures. You restructure D-Law, and I feel like Dorance Armstrong Jr. is coming back now with the Dallas Cowboys, especially since they feel like he got better as his career went on, and having a career year and a contract year helps him, and I feel like the Cowboys bring him back. So I think that's 3 guys that we're already talking about on the defensive end tip that are coming back. So if you're really trying to keep the guys in fold, what up, Law? What up, everybody? Yo got fire, yo got flame. What's up, man? But that's just the way it is with the Cowboys now. So you got to really look at, like I said, you're looking at the ends that are in there. You got, I would say you're keeping D-Law, restructure that 2 years. You do whatever. Randy Gregory, you're talking about the 13 mil, the market value for him. I think you go ahead and jump into that because Jerry's going to have that infinity for him and feel like we put too much energy and effort into this guy. We got to make sure we sign him. So I think he comes back and they make that work on both parties. And then Dorance Armstrong Jr., because he's had a career year across the board, I feel like, especially with Jerry liking him last year and mentioning him last year, and with Dan Quinn, we'll probably want to keep this defense together with him coming back and him not leaving. I definitely can see now Cowboys going hard and saying, well, these are going to be our free agent guys, so we really don't need to touch the defensive ends if we go ahead and re-sign two right there in Dorance Armstrong Jr. and Randy Gregory. That's your two DNs. One guy who's 30 but doesn't have a lot of tread on his tires. The other kid is 25, and he's been with you his whole career. He has a familiarity with the defense. So I think those are the signings that you make work. So that's if we're looking at that. What up? What up? Yo got fire. What up, Law? Like I said, baby, what's up with you? Yeah, I think that 13 mil works, y'all. I think that works. What up? What up? What up? Hey, I appreciate you. Appreciate you, Law, sending these people that way. We know I appreciate that's my dog. Sorry we couldn't do that the final word the other day, but I'm jumping in here doing this. So appreciate you, dog. Love you for life. So let's see. We got those two guys. So we're looking at D-Law, we're keeping. Randy Gregory, make that happen with that signing. Dorance Armstrong Jr., yes. Terrell Basham, he's under contract for another year, so you don't have to worry about him, and I thought he had a pretty decent year. We can just talk about him right quick if we're talking about players, just on the roster, on the defensive end tip. Let's not forget anybody on here. So let's talk about Basham. I thought Basham had I thought he was a good addition. I like how he came off the edge. He's not a full-time guy, but I like how he was a good rotational piece. And I like what they did with him this past season. And Dan Quinn liked him from the very beginning. They built off a good relationship with him. And I like how he just kind of, did his thing. So he's in another year. But let's talk about what he did. Where you at, Basham? There you are. 27 years old. Came from the University of Ohio, and I think the reason why they, when Basham was coming out of college and with the University of Ohio, they were actually looking at Basham. They had a eye on Basham, and they were talking about drafting him out of college. And I think that's the year they went with Taco, because I remember I was mocking him in the 4th round, and I was saying, but the Cowboys try to get him if they don't get a D in early. So he was a guy that I was talking about, and he was on their radar because I believe he came into. They brought him in on there when they have those visits, the 30 visits. I believe he was on their visit. So he was already on their radar. So it only made sense for them to scoop him now when he was available. And like I said, I think he had a good year in his first year. And I believe let's go to his stats. 17 games played, 6 games started, 625 snaps, 54% of the time, had 3.5 sacks. 39 tackles, 21 solo, 18 assists. And I thought you got some good work out of him. So we're just talking about him being on another year. And I think if you're keeping all those 4 guys in the fold, if you want to get excited about the DM position from that aspect, excuse me, you'll get happy and say, well, they brought everybody back. They didn't lose people. So that's what we have to look at from that opinion, because you really can't look at free agency. Like I said, McKinley would be the only guy from Atlanta that I could see maybe they could squeeze if they get another defensive end in free agency. That would be a guy I think you guys want to keep an eye on because of the work he did with Dan Quinn, and I think that relationship right there. Plus, I think he's got some energy and some effort that he can bring to the table. So just keep an eye on him in free agency if they were to go that route. Obviously, the other player that we're talking about is the draft pick of Chauncey Golston. Let's pull him up right now. Ghostface Killer, as I call him. Chauncey, I did a breakdown video of him, and a lot of people were mocking him when he was coming out of the draft, like in the 1st round. I said, hell to the no, he's not a 1st rounder. I didn't think he was a 1st rounder. I thought, when he was more of a 3-tech, more of an inside guy. He was playing more of a 1, a 3 and a 5 and a 1. But I felt like he was still better inside. And like I said, if you watched him this past season, he played very well on the inside. He was, because he doesn't have the huge size, but he's big enough. Like I said, he's a D-Law type size, so he's big enough to play in that middle, and he's good with his hands. So I liked him inside, and I think he just has to get better on the outside with moves. But he's a very active player. You saw when he came in, he hit the ground running from injury. You didn't get to see him at camp at all, but he hit the ground running. So I like what he brings to the table. Do you think the Cowboys signed Cox from the Eagles? Nope, I do not. He's going to cost too much money. What do I think about Washington's new name? I think it's dumb. I think it's corny. I think they should have. I would have went with Washington Generals or something like that. The Commanders or Commandos, whatever they're called. I just think they're weird. Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about adding the dog linebackers when we hit them linebackers. Because I got some guys that I really like at the linebacker position that I was looking at the Senior Bowl. But if we're talking about the Cowboys D ends as we see it, you probably look at the list of the guys that they have, the current rosters, the current defensive ends on the roster: Demarcus Lawrence, Randy Gregory, Chauncey Golston, Dorance Armstrong Jr., and Basham. Those all guys should be here next year. That's all I'm gonna say. You should be able to make it work with Gregory and Armstrong Jr. They should be affordable. You should restructure Lawrence, and then you got Golston still learning. And then whenever you possibly want to move on from Lawrence within a couple of years, you already got Golston that can slide into that spot because he's got good 3 years on his belt. And you'll probably be negotiating a contract for him after those 3 years, if he continues to trend up. And then, like I said, you can hit the draft. One maybe free agent that I could say that the Cowboys may look at on the defensive end tip will be McKinley. If it happens, I think he could be affordable if something happens with you possibly losing a Gregory or something like that. So I gave the list of guys: Charles Harris, Kimoko Turi, Jahad Ward, who was with the Cowboys already, Takarius McKinley, who I think that would be the guy that you really want to hone in if he's healthy, and Solomon Thomas. So those are the 5 guys under 30 that the Cowboys could look at. If you're an over 30 club, I gave out 3 names. That could be an over 30 club that would be like a 1-year rental. If you wanted to do that, those would be Jerry Hughes, which he may cost too much because he's still playing well. Justin Houston, who's not the guy he used to be due to injury, so he could be affordable, or Melvin Ingram. Those are 3 guys that they could look at possibly because of experience and may not cost a lot of money. So those right there. Now, before we head off of here, let's talk about the draftable defensive ends that I like. And obviously I went to the Senior Bowl, had a great time there, and I got to see a lot of really good seniors there. So that was pretty good. But this is my short list of edge guys that I would love the Cowboys to kind of keep their eyes on. I'm going to start low to high. Michael Clemens, Texas A&M. Jesse Lokita, who one of my guys with me and him was talking back and forth. He played with him in high school, Penn State. He was a good edgy guy. I believe he played in that Senior Bowl. I think I seen him because he was coming off that edge. Josh Pascal, I believe, from Kentucky. Keep an eye on him. Sam Williams from Ole Miss. He's kind of like a D-Law kind of mold, big, thick guy, about 6'4", 260. I think he had like 12 sacks at Ole Miss. He's not super athletic, but he can play in the run game. He can get in that backfield. So that's a guy to keep your eye on. Sam Williams, edge guy. Cameron Thomas from San Diego State, I believe. He's a guy that can play multiple positions for your team. He's about 6'4", over about 300. I mean, he can, and he's slippy athletic. He's a high motor guy. And just keep an eye on him. I don't think he played in that Senior Bowl. I think he was invited, but I don't think he played in it. But he's a guy that I really love his effort. He's sneaky athletic. He can play multiple positions. He's smooth. He can shoot those gaps. So keep an eye on him. Tariq Smith from Ohio State University. Ohio State players, they put him out like no other. And I liked his edginess. He had some good power for his size. A little bit underperformed at Ohio State, but I like what I saw at the Senior Bowl. And I think he's a guy who can develop if you picked him up. And Ohio State players tend to play very well in the NFL to me. I think they're coached for the NFL. So he's a guy that I would look at on the edge. Myjai Sanders from Cincinnati is another kid that is not super big, but he's a guy that he got some bend to him. He's getting in that backfield, and he's only about 245, maybe 250, and they were telling he need to put on weight, but he gets in that backfield, man. He gets there. he just gets there, and I think if you keep working with him, he's going to continue to get better. Just kind of something about Sanders. Um, I like him. He's not super bendy, but he's bendy enough. And just something about him. He gets in that backfield, and I just feel like he's trending up. He's not trending down. So, um, BGJ John Jordan asked, "Do you think Cooper would get cut and the Cowboys sign Juju?" No, that would not make any sense to me. Taking Juju Schuster and you cutting Amari Cooper, that's ass backwards in my opinion. I don't know why you would do that. So I hope the Cowboys don't do that because I don't want Juju Schuster over no Amari Cooper. That would make no kind of sense at all. Yeah, they're gonna probably keep them, Paul. If you cutting D Law, you better have a plan. That's all I'm gonna say. You better have a plan because that D line is gonna be bare, and they need him for what they're talking about right now. You're gonna take a step back if you cut D Law, in my opinion. You're gonna take a big step back. I think you can definitely survive without Randy Gregory, and you can draft or you can get somebody in free agency. You can deal with that blow. But at this time, for what the Cowboys are needing, if you get rid of D Law, you're foolish, in my opinion. So, I said Tyreek Smith, Myjai Sanders from Cincinnati. Now, here's a couple other guys, and there's probably some more dudes I'm gonna like because I like the Jermaine Johnson from Florida State, but he's gonna get overdrafted, probably get drafted higher than we think. So, I like him, but not no first round like, you know what I mean? He's not a first round like. So, the two kids that I really like that came on. Now, this kid doesn't have the weight, and I just posted him on Twitter, and that's D'Angelo Malone. I like D'Angelo Malone. From Western Kentucky. Go check him out. He looks long. You know what I mean? He's undersized for the defensive end. I think he's like 240. He looks it out there. But I'm trying to tell you right now, watch that D'Angelo Malone kid. If he could slide down in a later round, I would love to scoop him. He had power. For if you look at his size, the guys he was going with, and no, I do not want no Lloyd. I do not want Devin Lloyd. Sorry, I do not want Devin Lloyd. I will take Channing Tindall, Damone Clark. I'll take a bunch of other linebackers over Devin Lloyd. Not me. I'm just no. Do I think Pollard is better than Ezekiel Elliott? I think that he's adds more dimensions than Ezekiel Elliott. I think Ezekiel Elliott is still a capable back, just doesn't have that speed and those cuts ability like he used to, but he's still a capable back, but he's definitely not what he was. But they offered are two different players, so it's kind of hard to compare them to. Yes, you are definitely right about that. What don't I like about Lloyd? No, I don't think Lloyd is a monster. I think, and this is my opinion, and hey, I definitely want to revisit it, but I feel like Lloyd is overrated. And it's just me. And if he ends up being great, that's cool. But I'm gonna watch his career because what I saw from him, he was struggling with getting off blocks, shedding blocks. He's kind of lanky with it. I think he's gonna have problems taking on blocks in the NFL. Yes, he has good athletic ability. I think the best thing that Devin Lloyd offers is coverage more than anything else. But I saw a lot of games where he was getting, once they peeled him on a block, he was not getting in there. I don't think he's all that like they're saying he is. And I feel like I don't want the Cowboys to draft him. Yeah, I don't. I'm telling you, man, he has problems with shedding blocks. Like if you go to his games, a lot of people say this and that. I watch his games. He's not that guy in my opinion. And you already got a Jabril Cox who can do coverage. So you got a Jabril Cox that's kind of like him. Jabril didn't like tackling in college, and I felt that was a knock on him. But he got better in the NFL. I saw him getting better. But that was a big thing to me with Jabril Cox, and I think that's what dropped him to the fourth round was that tackling because he wasn't physical. But he had everything else. And so I feel like Lloyd is good in coverage, but you already got a Cox, so I wouldn't go after him. I would go after a Tyndale, somebody's more physical, Clark. Those guys that can play 3 downs like that, 2 and are physical and can still cover and give that physical presence. I think that's what the Cowboys still need, and I would go with them. Yeah, I'm definitely cool with that. Mitchell Green drafting a receiver in the 2nd round. I'm cool with that. Especially if there's a good guy out there and you target, I'm cool with that too. Yep, and they play together, and I watch both of them. They're nice. And if they can get a late round guy, I would. Do I like Dean? Yes, I like Nakobe Dean. But I'm gonna keep it real. I like Nakobe Dean because that sideline to sideline. But when you look at the Georgia Bulldogs, one of the reasons why they were able to make them tackles, they had Wyatt, they had Jordan Davis. I mean, you had a front line that was monstrous, dog, that can keep you free to make those tackles. That's the only thing I worry about with Nakobe Dean, because you had that big one tech. You had those versatile guys. You had guys that could keep you free. If you aren't staying free, I don't know if you're doing all that. You know what I mean? So, they say the short arms, the size, obviously 6 foot, 222 pounds. I wish I could have saw him in person because, I mean, I like a kid that's from Oklahoma, Osamoa, and he came in at 6 foot, 228. And I don't know if he was stock, but he was built like a safety, man. Like, he was built like a safety. So I like to see what Nakobe Dean actually looked like. That's why I'm hoping to get to this combine, so I can physically see him close up. But I like a bigger back. I can't front. I really like Channing Tindall. I watched him in the Senior Bowl again. He was showing up, playing everywhere, making tackles. He was only a 1-year starter, but he's that size that I like. 6'2", 230 pounds. He's definitely athletic enough. Obviously, he probably doesn't have the experience, but I feel like he can play in coverage. But if you really watched him, and especially in that Senior Bowl game, I like Channing Tindall a lot. Like, I like him, and I feel like he can slide in around where the Cowboys can scoop him. So if Nakobe Dean isn't the guy that you can scoop in that first round, come back and I like Damone Clark. Go watch that game. They were both starting linebackers for the national team. Both of them have great size. Damone Clark is a 3-down linebacker. Thank you, Jay Lombardi, for bringing him to my attention. Chad Muma, I like him too. I got a whole list. If you go onto the list on my community page, I broke down all the players that I liked at that Senior Bowl. Chad Muma was one of them. Troy Anderson. There was a lot of linebackers that I liked. So you can find backers, and you don't have to go out and get a Dean necessarily. If you don't get him in that first round, there's quality linebackers that you can scoop in later rounds, and they can definitely be a good impact on your team. Yeah, don't sleep on Quay Walker. Now, to me, I seen Quay. Quay is huge. Let me just tell you that. Quay is huge. Like, when I seen him, he's like 6'4", 6'5", dog. He's big. He's a big dude. That's the main thing I noticed about him. But I didn't see a lot from him though, and that's what they were saying in college. So I'm kind of cool on Quay right now, just from my aspect, because he has all that. He has all that size. I don't like his motor, man. I don't like it. They said he underperformed at Georgia, and I've coached players like, man, he got it all, but why ain't he doing this? Why ain't just seemed like it's not there like that. So I'm sorry. I'm cautious on Quay. The size is ridiculous. Ability is there, but I'm kind of chilling on him. Darian Beavers is nice. Cincinnati, correct? 6'4", 250 linebacker. He was showing up. Good size. Good size. And I like Chad Muma. Chad Muma is going to be a tackling machine. He's got all sleeper in him, but I don't think he's that much of a sleeper. People know about him. He's going to be a good linebacker in NFL. He's a 3-down backer. He can cover. He has good instincts. He's going to be a tackling machine, in my opinion. If a team draft him and says, hey, you're going to be one of our guys that's going to be our pieces, he's going to get a lot of tackles in the NFL. you can say I'm gonna bank that one on him. Yeah, man, Tyndale. I'm telling you, dog. I know everybody's talking about Dean, but I like Tyndale, dog. I'm telling you. Chad Muma maybe he Chad Muma. Somebody else you better keep your eye on too. Troy Anderson, dog. I like Troy Anderson from Montana State. He's a big kid too. Like I like him. So I'm just pull up some of these names right now. Shoot, since I'm talking about them, these are just Senior Bowl guys. And actually, yeah. Let me see where it's at. And this was before. I'm just looking at something. Sorry. This is before I went to the Senior Bowl. Velvis Jones, Brian Osamoah, defensive tackle Otito Ogabenoi, Chad Muma, and Jalen Tolbert. These are guys that I was talking about before, and all of them, they didn't disappoint. Y'all can bring up some names on. Okay, yeah, here it is. Some guys that I liked. So, DeMarco Jackson, my guy mentioned him. This is a linebackers that we're talking about. DeMarco Jackson from Appalachian State. Like him. Christian Harris. Gotta look at more of him. I'm gonna agree. I think Tyndale, Dean, or Clark will fit, but I'm really like the size of Clark and Tyndale. I keep going to that size because they have the size and the athletic ability. You know what I mean? K Money. I think they could definitely double dip at linebacker but I think if they're going to double dip, it probably would be O-line. I don't think they get two backers in the draft. It could happen. But I think if they double dip, they go with that offensive line. Yeah, that DeMarco Jackson, he's his peoples was there. He was underrated. He's underrated. Keep an eye on him. Let me see. So edge guys, I think did I mention any other edge guys? Isaiah Thomas is another edge guy. He's a big kid. Now Logan Hall, he ain't edgy, but Logan Hall, you better from University of Houston. He's a big dude, playing multiple positions. He's a sleeper. Keep your eye on Logan Hall. He's a big dude, and I like how he can move around. I wouldn't be mad at picking him. I think my guy Brandon Tucker's got him. I was supposed to call him today. My bad, B. He's supposed to be on the show. He's got a lot of these defensive ends, and we're going to talk a lot of good stuff. He can give the breakdowns on some of these guys he's training because he's got about 10 of these guys, and some of these guys I mentioned, like Logan Hall, who I like because he's a big dude, 6'6", like he looks 6'6". He's like almost 300. I like him. You can move him around. I know you got 3 techs and stuff, but I like him. He reminds me of a Brent Urban type. Nah, no Brandon Smith. I feel you, Mark Anthony. No Brandon Smith. I'm cool on him. He underperformed. Man, I'm cool on him right now. I don't know. We'll see if they draft a receiver. It definitely can happen. There's receivers out there. Like I said, there's receivers out there. I've been looking at more of the bottom guys, but there's receivers out there that they can definitely scoop, and I wouldn't be mad at. I mentioned Jalen Tolbert. I mentioned Velvis Jones that were at the Senior Bowl, and this kid Sky Moore. I mentioned him about a month ago. I believe from Western Michigan. That's the speed receiver. That's why I said you keep the Amari Cooper, and then you get the speedy guys. That's what you need. And Sky Moore is definitely a speedy guy. He's underrated. He's that 5'10-ish, 180, the 190s, the 200 guy that can really take the top off the defense that the Cowboys don't have. So they need to really keep an eye on him. Oh, yeah, they're definitely taking O-line, linebacker, and DN. That's what they need to do. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be having my dog on there. I hope they're not stupid enough to let Cooper go. That just would, yeah, he's got some tick. John does. He got some tick. He got some wheels. I don't know how high that they go after him though. But you're making a big mistake moving on from Cooper. Restructure. Don't. Safety. I think they should re-sign Malik Hooker. I didn't look at the safeties at the Senior Bowl. I didn't look at no defensive backs, safeties. I was looking at them linebackers, that D line and that O line. Probably should have looked at them. Probably gonna look at them later, but that's what I'm looking at. Let me get your questions up there. Yeah, he did, Just Blaze. Can't lie. Can't lie about that one. She was fine. Sorry if I haven't been getting your questions up. I apologize. But let me get y'all's questions up here and let me pull them up and let's answer them. But don't go so fast though. RB Nightmare says, BGJ, is there someone in this year's draft like Gallup and Wilson like? Yeah, that's those are guys I was mentioning. Jalen Tolbert, I like Velvis Jones, and I like Sky Moore. Now Sky Moore, I would say Tolbert is more of the Wilson, because the other two guys are a little shorter and speedier, and they offer return ability. Velvis Jones especially. Yeah, I feel you. With I can't stand Baby Jones, but I'm being nice to them today. I'm leaving you Joneses alone today. I ain't saying nothing about you Joneses negative. I'm gonna leave y'all alone today. I'm gonna be on your ass again soon, but I'm gonna leave y'all alone. Do you think we should let Wilson walk? No. I like Wilson, but it's all about how much he's going to command, because I think he's going to get some money. He's going to probably want to get paid. So I think it's really going to be the money with him, for real. If he wants to come back, and they're going to have to really see what the Cowboys and what he wants. And if he want that money, Cowboys ain't going to pay him, I don't believe, and they'll just move on, because I feel like they can get another receiver, and they have Malik Turner in the fold, and they can draft. So I feel like it's really going to be on Wilson, how much money he wants. Oh, yeah, Wandale Robinson. I like him, too. John Jones with the $5 holla. Appreciate you. I like Wandale Robinson from Kentucky as well. I want somebody who's a little shorter, about 5'10", 5'11", that can really take the top off the defense. The guy that can really, as soon as you hike that ball, he can hit that 9 route, or he can hit them 7s and hit you and go. That's what Dallas needs. That's what Dak needs. I feel like he needs an explosive receiver. I mean, you got Amari who can really work you the whole route tree. You got CeeDee Lamb that's really good underneath. He can really work you underneath. I believe he's a outside receiver, but he's really good underneath because he doesn't have that elite speed and has to get better with his route running. But if you can get a guy like that can really turn up your offense, that can really explode, deep ball, like the Tyreek Hill, man, it changes your offense. It changes what you want to do. And yeah, Pickens. I have to look at Pickens, but a lot of people have been talking about him. I think Brian Broaddus mentioned, you said George Pickens from Georgia. A lot of people have been talking about him. I made a post that would you take it, the Jameis Williams from Alabama, if he was offered at 24 and he was still there, would you take him? But I don't know. Would you take him at 24? Nah, he ain't gonna take no pay cut. If I was Cedric Wilson, I ain't taking no pay cut either. Stay with no dollars. I'm getting my money. I don't think they go, Andre. I hear what you're saying with that question. I just don't think they go that route. Here's the question: what about picking up Alan Lazard and free agency on the cheap? Picking up Camus CD to the slide and make the offense go more. I just feel like they're not going to do that. We're going to really push CD at the outside guy. And I feel like they're going to want to stay on their own. They're not really going to go that route with a free agent receiver when they feel like they got guys in the fold they feel like they can do the job. I'm trying to think at their think at their head. Yes, I want Tyndale too. Ooh. Here's my God, Just Blaze says, BGJ, if you had one to cut, who would it be and why? Amari versus D-Law. Honestly, if I had to cut between the two, it would be I would cut Amari over D-Law. And here is my reason why I would cut Amari over D-Law. Because of what D-Law means to the defense. Because with the offense, you still have a CD Lamb and you still have a Michael Gallup, even though he just now did his surgery. I don't know what the hell was going on with that. And you can draft a guy, but you feel like you still have a number 1A in CD Lamb. If you re-signed if you lost a Cooper, you re-signed a Cedric Wilson, even though he's better at the 3 than a 2 or 1. You saw he was versatile enough to play multiple roles, and you could draft somebody high. I think the offense can still live because you have Lamb there. You know what I'm saying? If you didn't have CD Lamb there, I think it would be different. But since you have CD Lamb there, I think he makes the difference from the cut. Because on the defensive side, reason why I would say you don't cut D-Law because of what it fits for the Dallas defense. If you cut D-Law right now, you're in a big gap right now. You're in a huge major gap on that defensive line. Because I don't trust Randy Gregory to be that guy if you lost to D-Law. Randy Gregory doesn't play that run game like D-Law does. And Randy Gregory, we saw what happened in the playoff game, and the discipline was a little kind of crazy. So I'm not still fully trusting Randy Gregory. Just me. That's just how I feel. So it'd be a bigger loss on the defensive side to lose D-Law for what the Cowboys need. It'd be a big setback. So that's why I would say I would cut Amari and keep D-Law for what the Cowboys need and what it would be best for, the team, especially the defense. You need D-Law right now. Yeah, I feel you with the where you said you would cut D-Law, but Parsons, I don't want Parsons to go full-time defensive end. And if you cut D-Law, I think the reason why Parsons is so damn good, I love him when he goes down on that. And I was been bagging back and forth on, where would I want to see Parsons because he's so damn good off that edge. He's so good off that edge, but he's so versatile. He can do so many things, man. And I don't want him pigeonholed in one position. He is an animal. He can play so many different things. He can do so many things for you. So you want to keep him free. So keeping D-Law because Parsons makes D-Law better. They bounce off each other. So that's a element that you keep with your defense. You know what I mean? That's Blaze says. Let me see what you say. Says, see, I feel you. If you cut D-Law, your offense doesn't suffer because Micah can service. But if you cut Amari, your defense takes a hit, especially with our corners. That makes sense. I feel you. But you still have CD Lamb. Yeah, that defense was good. I definitely see where you're coming from. But if we're talking about right now, I just feel like right now, if you cut D-Law, I don't want Parsons just playing the edgy guy. And I think your defense does still take a step back a little bit. But I definitely see your side of it. But I feel like you got Lamb. But I definitely see your side of it with Cooper, with the Cooper Law comparison. But that's just kind of what I'm gonna go with because I feel like D-Law still, even though he was out, he was a huge piece on that defense. It made that defense. That defense made the defense better. Defense was nice with Parsons there, but it made it that much better when D-Law came there because now it made Parsons free, where you kind of had to put Parsons on that ground a lot. I feel like it took away from what he could do because you saw how good he could be in coverage. You saw the versatility, what he can do. So I just feel like that I want to keep Micah Parsons free as much as I can. Yeah, he drops passes. He does. You know what I mean? He drops passes. He had 8 drops, but yeah, you're right. He doesn't strike fear, but as I said before, I wouldn't cut either one of them. That's what I'm gonna say. You know what I mean? I definitely wouldn't cut either one of them. It wouldn't make any sense to do that. Yeah, neither one of those guys should go. You know what I mean? Especially like I said with Cooper. And when they talked about that in the air, I just feel like, if the Cowboys are talking about being real, then that really don't make no sense for you to get rid of Cooper or D-Law, especially if you're trying to get that 6 that you're talking about. You know what I mean? If you're talking about like this 6 and you owe it to the fans and whatever, it makes no damn sense for you to cut either one of those players. That would tell me you're not serious. Once again, because I don't believe you're serious anyway. But that would definitely tell me you're not serious about trying to win, and you're not trying to get to that 6, and you're not trying to do everything possible to get to that 6 if you cut a D-Law or if you cut Amari Cooper. That tells me you're just talking a bunch of trash. You're just running your mouth and then trying to make it sound good for us Cowboys fans. That's what that would tell me off the rip. So Dallas Cowboys, and getting ready to close here, you make no damn sense if you get rid of Amari Cooper or D-Law. Restructure them. If that's what you can do in the contract, restructure. You don't have to get rid of either one of those guys at all. You don't make no sense to do. The reason why your offense got better, and agreeing with you guys, the reason why your team got better offensively is when you traded for Amari Cooper. You traded a first-round pick for him mid-season in 2018. Team was 3-5. They were going nowhere. You traded for Amari Cooper. He made Dak better. Once again, Dak did not make Amari Cooper better. Amari Cooper made Dak better. So when Amari Cooper came to the team, the offense went from here to here. That we seen Dak struggle without top type receivers. We saw him struggle with that. Once Amari came in, who was a dog of a receiver, a true number 1, Dak got better. The offense got better. The offense is better. We've seen it. We had the fun back and forth with the game changer. I said CeeDee Lamb was a game changer. But toward the end of the year, I went with Amari Cooper because Amari Cooper makes that offense go. And it just wouldn't make no damn sense if you're saying you love the team and you're owing it to the Cowboys fans to get better, that you cut him. So that's what I'm going to be watching. Talk is cheap from you Cowboys. If you are talking about being this winning organization or whatever you're talking about saying out there, don't cut Coop and don't cut D-Law, and just restructure them and make that work later on. Because if you cut either one of them, that's just going to tell me more lies from you guys. I'm tired of it too, man. But like I said, I'm gonna be nice. I'm not gonna like I said, D-Law is a very good player. He's not a great player to me. And that's all I'm gonna just say about it. You know what I mean? So we'll see how it goes. But make sure y'all tune in. I think I'm tomorrow, hopefully, either tomorrow or maybe Saturday. I'm gonna have my guy Brandon Tucker on here. And if you ever checked out Brandon Tucker, he's been on my show multiple times. He trains a lot of these guys out there and gets them prepped for the combine, and get ready for their their pro days and things of that nature. He's trained multiple Cowboys players. D-Law, he had Taco, he had Malik Collins, Tristan Hill, David Irvin. He had a lot of guys, you know what I'm saying? And he trains a lot of the last 3 years. He's had a lot of guys. I wish I had a lot of the names that he had, but Montez Sweat was one of the guys that he hit, and you see what he's done. But he's got a good list of players this year, and he's going to be on the show either hopefully tomorrow or maybe Saturday. But right now, my guy, this is his short list of guys that he's going to be training this year. He sent it to me. George Karfidis from Purdue. I guess he's going to be a top guy. Michael Clemens from A&M. DeMarvin Lil from A&M. Jermaine Johnson, who was the darling of the Senior Bowl from FSU. Logan Hall, who I told y'all about from Houston, can play multiple positions for you. Trayvon Walker from the University of Georgia. I don't think he has Jaden Peavy. He told me he doesn't have him. John Ridgeway, I believe he said he has him from Arkansas. He's a big dude, 6'3", 330 pounds. He needs every bit of that. Neil Farrell Jr., nice little defensive tackle out of LSU. Multiple guy can really move for you, can really push the pocket. And the super darling on the inside, it was the man of the whole Senior Bowl week, Perion Winfrey from OU. He was dominating the Senior Bowl practices. He played good in the game, and he offers everything you kind of like in a 3-tech: size, speed, everything. So he's on the short list, and he also got a few people. Zach Carter from Florida, who was in that Senior Bowl, very good size. Tyreek Smith, who I told y'all about, who I, like I said, keep your eye on. So he's got a great list of players. Once again, we're going to talk to him either today or tomorrow, so we can no, he's not working with Marcon McCall, but I like Jalen Tolbert. But make sure you check out that show, because he's going to give a good breakdown of these players, and maybe Cowboys can scoop one. Definitely wouldn't be mad at it. And then Sunday we'll be back on our draft with me and my guy, the Philly podcast. We're definitely going to be doing that. And we're definitely going to be talking about all the draftable players that I saw in the Senior Bowl and players that I saw beyond. So definitely keep your eye on that. And I got one last thing that I want to tell you guys about. I made a post a few days ago where I was talking about a short list of former NFL players. I brought it on the community page, and I said I was going to bring the idea. I think it was last week where I said I'm going to start bringing on non-Cowboy players to talk about what they're doing now, their experiences in the NFL, and if they had the experiences of playing with the Cowboys, and how people actually really thought about the Cowboys, or how they thought about the Cowboys when they played, or did they have any amazing stories. So just a short list of names that I've come up with and basically befriended. So Tabucky Jones, Nate Turner, Jimmy Wilkerson, Derek Deese, Tommy Maddox, Rocky Barnard, Keith Brooking, who did play with the Cowboys, Bernard Berrien, Jermaine Lewis Sr., Tyrone Poole, Ricky Dudley, who I played a little hoops with back in the day. He's got a son that's pretty nice for football as well. The legend Chuck Foreman. I definitely want to get Chuck Foreman on here. Ray Mickens, Jeff Chadwick, receiver from Detroit. Pisa Tiamusu, I believe he's the linebacker from the Rams. That's where I remember from. Santonio Holmes Jr., he actually lives out here where I'm at. He actually drops his clothes and stuff where I work at. So I've seen Santonio multiple times. Dwayne Clemens, Donovan Alumba, who had a little short career with the Cowboys, and James Yarborough. So, going to look to add some more players, always meeting people all the time. But I just like to, we want to branch out and do some more different things besides the same Cowboy thing all the time. Not saying I don't love my team anymore, but we just want to expand and do some other things. And I'm not happy with the Joneses right now anyway. So that's as real as I can just tell you. If you want me to be perfectly honest, I'm just not really happy with the Joneses anyway. I'm just not happy. I don't even want to talk about them no more. So it's all good. But I'm about to head off here, y'all. I appreciate y'all jumping in the feed today. Where's Jay over here? Jay always on it. But we're going to get off here, man. And really appreciate y'all. Super Bowl party. Super Bowl. Before we get off here, who y'all got in the Super Bowl before we get off here? Leave me y'all's team, who y'all want to go for the Super Bowl, and give me your score as I head off of here. Yes, and the Joneses are full of SHI, you know what. But go ahead and give me who you're going to want to win the game, and what's the score going to be as we head out of here with my nice little beat that I like doing. So give me your who you want to win the Super Bowl, and give me a score as we get ready to head out here. I appreciate y'all, and I'll be talking to y'all soon. Big Game James, you know what it is. Always keeping it real, always trying to keep it funky, man. I'm going to look at what y'all got to say. as I head up out. Peace. Love y'all. I'm out.